Hello, welcome back to the Dating After Divorce podcast. I hope your 2023 is turning out to be amazing. I am spending the early part of the new year, January, in Miami, vacationing with my husband. And I have to say, Florida is amazing. This sun, this 70 plus degrees, 80 plus degree sunshine, blue skies in the middle of winter is just so amazing, so healing. We have been spending time with my sister-in-law. I have met up with a very dear friend and coach colleague. We have been to the beach. We have gone mural chasing. We have eaten Cuban food. It's just been so good. And I feel very blessed and I'm very grateful to be here and be able to just start the new year out, just thinking, reflecting, enjoying the sunshine, and doing the things that I love, things that nourish me. So I hope you are having that opportunity as well in your life. So part of the reflection and the things that have come up for me over the last few days is just lessons that I learned. And I think as a coach, sometimes we forget just what it was like way back early in our journey, the difficulties we felt. And I have spent some time trying to bring back some of my early challenges in dating so that I can share those with you. So that's what this episode is going to be about. And maybe the next few episodes will probably be about that too, depending on how long it takes me to communicate that to you on an episode. I try not to make them too long, but that's hard for me. I'm a bit of a talker. So I'm just going to go over some of them and see where it goes. This might end up being a multi-part series. If it is, great. If I get them all out today, awesome as well. So let's just get started. I wrote it out as right now I have a list of 21. I probably won't talk about 21 on this episode. But I thought about it as like 21 things or X number of things that I had to do differently before I met my husband. And I went over just from the first moment I decided to date, from the first moment I got on a dating app, things that happened and what I changed along the way in order to have success. So I did come to the dating process with some natural strengths, right? I'm an extrovert. I enjoy being with people. I don't have a lot of social anxiety, although at the time I did have lots of insecurities, internal insecurities. But looking from the outside in, you might not have noticed at the time that I had those insecurities. So you might come with a different set of strengths to the dating journey. And with all of my clients, we start there. I start by, and usually we do this on the consultation call. I'm usually able to identify the strengths that they come with. And so then we know what needs to change in order for them to close the gap in their relationship journey. So I came with some strengths. I was comfortable talking to men. That was just not a big problem for me. I didn't have a lot of experience during my marriage doing that because marriage you tend to change your social circle. So I was a little bit rusty, but I did study engineering in college. There was like 10 girls to 300 guys. We didn't take any nonsense from the guys. So that was a strength that I came with. I know my clients who have brothers tend to have that strength as well, just comfort interacting with men. So that's a strength that I had. I'm an extrovert, so I came with that strength as well. I had some confidence, so I came with that strength, but then I also came with a whole lot of things that needed to change, things that needed to get better. And the first one that I will talk about is the fact that I had to become very authentic in the way I showed up online and with the men that I met. So I did have a lot of people-pleasing tendencies early in my healing and recovery journey. I exhibited a lot of codependent behaviors. And of course, codependency can mean a lot of things. So we won't go too deep into what that looked like in my life or, before I started dating in my divorce. I do that work with my clients as well, identifying some of these behaviors that they still had that I'll hold over from their marriage or from their childhood. So I definitely had a lot of people pleasing tendencies. I also, I think, didn't really understand just the pressure that's put on women to make relationships work. And this is a huge scenario. If you have listened to my podcast episode, I forget what number, but it's titled Why Dating Feels Terrible and What You Can Do About It. It was just like thinking patterns that women are socialized to believe, and men are socialized to believe the same, which then puts a whole lot of pressure on women in the dating journey. So I had that thinking that men knew better. I had to show up in a way that made men feel good. I needed to adapt and yield and all that stuff. There was a whole lot of stuff there. So I wasn't my authentic self. And that showed up in my first marriage too, was because I was so busy trying to please the ex that I wasn't being my authentic self. I wasn't saying what I thought. I wasn't living the life that I was created to live and just letting the chips fall where they may. I was trying to hold this thing together that may or may not have been a viable relationship. I think I brought that to my first few dating experiences. I would meet someone that I really, really liked, and then I would take on the responsibility of holding it together, even right from the start. I felt like it was all on me to make sure that he liked me and that he wanted to be with me. And I needed to make all of these efforts, and I needed to make sure I didn't do anything to turn them away or turn them off. And I didn't do this with guys I didn't like, right? So it wasn't like I was just all over the place, like desperate for any relationship. It was just, if I did like a guy, I felt the pressure to get him to like me. It was almost like I gave my power away. I assumed that if I liked him, that he should like me back. And if he didn't like me back, I was the one who was doing something wrong. And so I wasn't my authentic self in many cases. I remember this one guy that he had a British accent. I thought he was super cute. He was shorter than I was by a lot, but oh my God, he was smart, intellectual. We had a great first date. He took me to a really cool restaurant. I just really liked him. And then we had a couple of phone calls after that. And then he didn't ask me out again. And I was just like, okay. And then started calling. Oh my God, I called so many times. I've told this story to my clients, but I don't think I've told it on the podcast. So there you go. Shannon Curry also called a guy who wasn't returning her calls multiple times. So I did that. I did that because I thought it was all on me, and I really wanted him to like me, and he was nice and cute. And I wasn't being my authentic self, which was, hey, this is who I am. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Okay, if you like it, great. If you don't like it, also great. So I learned to become the really authentic version of myself. Now, the way you do that isn't by looking outside of yourself. It's by looking inward. One of the first things I do with my clients is turn their attention inward. It is so hard. We're conditioned as women to look outward. What do people want? What are people saying? What are people thinking? What is the thing I'm supposed to be doing? All instructions coming from the outside. But what really works is for you to look inside at your own gifts, your own loves, your own self, your own light, your own sparkle. The person you were always created to be, getting to know her and learning to express who she is in the world. And that's a whole process, but I learned that both through coaching, and I was coaching on different things in my life, through therapy, through reading, and just focusing on myself, like really focusing on myself. And so if that's something that you feel like, okay, I need to, work, I need to do that, just jump on my email list. And I have emails that I send out about that. I have a couple of free courses on that. And if you want to work with me on that, you can do that as well. So that was one. I became highly authentic. My profile was super authentic. And I think I've talked about my profile. If your profile can be superimposed with another woman, then it's not authentic enough. Like, you really need to get to know yourself so well that your profile is 100% you. So becoming really authentic. And authentic isn't like you're going all over the place, just like scolding people and yelling about what you want. It's about just when people see you, they're like, oh, this is who she is. I feel her energy. And that energy is the same wherever you are, inside, outside, whatever scenario you're in, people experience you the way you really are. It's a journey. It's a journey for sure. So don't be hard on yourself if you need to take steps to get there. It takes a little bit to get to that point where you're fully authentic, but it feels so good. You no longer spend any energy overthinking things and overthinking how to do things and how you should be and how you should show up. You can just relax and step into the world exactly as you are, knowing that you are safe, you're loved, and you are amazing just as you are. Okay, so that was one thing that definitely changed from the beginning of my journey to when I met my husband. The second thing that I learned to do was asking for blind dates through my network. That was not something that was easy for me in the beginning. First of all, coming out of the divorce, I had lost a lot of community, which was a good thing. It turned out to be a good thing. I was not in healthy community. I was in community, but I was not in healthy community. The community I was in was very dogmatic. It was very rules-based. I could not be my authentic self. There was no way to even explore being who I really was and who God had called me to be in that environment, because the environment just signaled who you were supposed to be. And this wasn't just my religious environment. It was also my family of origin environment. My corporate environment was also had this messaging about who I was supposed to be. And I was very much trying and succeeding. Actually, I was very successful in all of these scenarios, being very successful at showing up at what I was supposed to be for other people. So in my corporate environment, you were supposed to be a certain way. People kept telling me every day what I was supposed to be. Fingers were always pointing, and I was always like, okay, how high do I need to jump? In my first marriage, there was a lot of messaging about who I was supposed to be. And if I wasn't that, I didn't show up in the way that people liked, then I was a problem. My religious environment, the same thing. My geography where I live. And I think this is the same for everyone. I don't know that there's anywhere in the world by default that doesn't message to women, this is what you're supposed to be. I didn't really have a problem with diet culture. My body frame is naturally slimmer, on the slimmer side, just genetically. So I didn't have that pressure on me, but I had other pressures. And I think sometimes we underestimate just how much pressure is put on women to show up in a way that is other than who we are. So where was I? Okay, community. So yes, I was in all the communities that I was in were all communities that I joined or I was a part of because of who I was. So it wasn't their fault per se. I was programmed to show up in those ways by my family of origin. So then I just naturally sought out other communities that treated me like my family of origin had treated me. So after the divorce and when I was healing and growing and getting coached and changing my thinking, I was like, oh, I got to change my community. I got to change who I'm around. I have to move into communities that accept me for who I am. That was some work. I did some work. I remember I have an activity that I do with my clients who need it now. Not all of them need it, called a relationships audit. And every Sunday night, I would edit my list of people that I had come in contact with, either people who'd reached out to me or people that I had reached out to, places I had gone who I interacted with. And I would sit and I would audit that list based on the criteria that I had for the community I wanted to build. And it started making a difference. So that was one of the things that I had to do. And over time, it changed the network that was around me. And because of that, I now had a more healthy network, and I was able to leverage that network to get blind dates, people who were known to my friends and known to the people I was in communication with. And then I had to take the next step to ask for introductions to people I wanted to meet, to ask for introductions to men who might be compatible with me. And that made a huge difference. So dating online, I do recommend it. It is an amazing exercise. And many, I would say over half of my clients meet their person online. That's just how to date in 2023. It's just the way it is. So I would say about 60% will meet their partners online, done properly. But there is also a large percentage, I mean, 40 something percent of my clients will meet their partner in person. And so I learned to leverage both pillars of dating. Now, even if you think you're going to meet your person online, dating in person is so energetically nourishing, and it helps you build your confidence for dating online. So when you meet people in person, whether they or not they're your person, you are you're interacting with humans the way you were designed to interact with humans, and that really raises your confidence and it raises your skill level. And when you take that confidence and skill level to the apps, it just makes your online dating so much better. So my clients do both. I learned to do both. I started out with just online dating, and it is so easy to just go down that rabbit hole without, if you don't balance it out with offline dating. So I learned how to ask for blind dates in person. I learned how to meet dates at conferences. I met dates through my friends. It was great. I met dates at work. It was great. So that's definitely something I had to change. So that's two. The third thing I changed was overcoming my natural inertia and getting out of the house. So at the time, my young teens were living with me. I had a full-time job. I had a 45-minute commute one way to work. This was pre-pandemic. So there was really not a lot of like working from home kind of stuff. I was also traveling for work. So at that time, I think every couple of months, I would have to travel for about a week for work. So I had my hands were full. I was also actively working on myself. So I was going to my sessions and all of that. And so I had a lot on my hand, just practically. My kids they weren't driving at the time. So I was driving them to a lot of their activities. And I was trying to participate and be a present mom as much as I could. I don't know that I succeeded a whole lot at that then. I don't know. We'll have to see. But, no one does any of these things perfectly. I don't claim that I did it perfectly. So I had things on my hands, grocery shopping and cooking and, I don't know, doing laundry. All of that was on my hands during this time. However, the thing that keeps us from getting out of the house to go do things we love, to participate in life, either during the divorce or after the divorce, is not a lack of time. And it's not the fact that you have kids or all of those things. Those things are real, but if you actually do a time audit, you will find that you still have plenty of time that gets wasted on binging your favorite show, overthinking things, mindless scrolling on social media, all because the natural tendency of the brain is to stay in the cave. And if you are not aware of that, you will think you're not getting out to go dancing, to go hiking, to, I don't know, whatever activities are yours, to go to concerts, to go volunteer. If you are not getting out to do all of these things, it's not because you don't have time. I know that sounds so unfair to say, but I have been there and I realized that it was my thinking. And it wasn't my thinking because I was like, someone who thought badly. It's just our brains are designed to keep us doing the least. That is the design. It is not a flaw. It is a feature of the brain to keep you conserving calories, staying in your comfort zone, doing what's familiar. And if you do not change that, you will be like, I don't know, the larger percentage of the population who just go from the house to the grocery store, to the religious temple, to work, to Walgreens, or whatever, back to home, or to the children's activities. Do an audit of where you've been in the last week on your regular week, not on holidays and things where you might do some extra things, just your regular week. How many places do you actually go to? How many times do you actually leave the house to do something interesting? And is it really true that you could not find a couple of hours to do something?
If you love and resonate with the Dating After a Divorce podcast and are ready to stop wasting time, and find a partner who matches you now, then working with me is your next right move. It's time to intentionally create success in your romantic life the way you do in other areas of your life. Now is the time to open your heart and life to real love. When you work with me, I help you date regularly and consistently, and ultimately you enter a healthy and committed relationship, partnership, or marriage. My Good Men Only dating process helps you gain clarity on who you're looking for, where to find your person, and you'll make real progress with meeting them. I help you attract the kind of man you want to build a life with. And you'll enjoy the dating process because you'll spend time with men whose company you actually enjoy instead of kissing 100 frogs. My coaching process includes setting up your dating profile, your online dating process so that you level up the types of men you're meeting until you hit the right match. I work with you on offline dating, how to connect with men in the real world, evaluating correctly for compatibility on multiple levels, finding the right balance between remaining open but not getting attached too quickly, retraining your intuition so that you can trust yourself and your instincts, and finding out the truth about the people you're dating without becoming an FBI agent. And when you finally go exclusive, you'll know the questions and conversations you need to have so you won't spend what should be your romantic honeymoon season overthinking and wondering if you're missing something about him. Attracting a whole different kind of relationship than you've experienced before is truly possible and available for you. I have 3 levels of coaching programs available to choose from. So if you want to learn more about doing this deep dive dating work that creates healthy, loving relationships after divorce, take 2 minutes to schedule a consultation call with me at sadecurry.com/schedule-appointment. That's SADECurry.com/schedule-appointment. Or you can just tap on the link in the show notes to schedule that call. I'll talk to you soon.
So I learned how to overcome that inertia. It had to do with shifting my thinking, getting coached, shifting my brain's natural tendency to be inert, and deciding what my new life was going to look like and the elements of my new life, and on purpose, deliberately going to make those happen. Many women I talk to are waiting to meet a guy so that that guy will encourage them to go do those things. Or they're waiting for someone to meet someone so that they don't have to go do those things on their own. All of these things, because for some people, there's shame about going places alone, there's social anxiety, there's all of these obstacles. However, in order to meet someone, you're going to have to overcome those obstacles anyway. Like, it literally doesn't matter. And one of the reasons we get into relationships that are not good for us is because that person represents not having to do things alone, not having to go places alone, not having to overcome the inertia on our own. And so then we end up just settling for someone who's just better than having no one. And that's not good. That's how we end up in these 6-month relationships that turn out badly, year-long relationships that turn out badly. So that's one thing I had to do. I had to figure out how to get out of the house. And you don't want to do it in a way that burns you out, in a way that stresses you out. You want to do it in a way that is emotionally nourishing. And this is where coaching can help. This is where I can be of a help to you. If this is something you need to do, book a consult call with me. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the thinking and the emotional challenges you're facing that are keeping you from getting out and doing these things. All right. I'm going to talk about one more thing, and then I'll do another episode and go through the others. The 4th thing I had to change from the beginning of my dating journey to when I succeeded, I met my husband, was holding belief and seeking out the highest standard of relationship. So I wasn't seeking out the highest standard of relationship in the beginning. We had to do a lot with like fairy tale thinking. I thought, la di da, I'm going to get on this app and it's going to be a cute guy. He's going to ask me out and it's going to be great. No, that is not what happened. That is not what happened at all. I got on the apps and I had the same experience you all have. All kind of weirdo guys, all kinds of stuff. Like, there were all kinds of things that happened. And I think initially, for sure, I didn't hold my highest standards. right? Initially, I still had the residue of the standard of relationship from my first marriage and other relationships I'd had still playing around in my brain. And it took time and it took work and it took coaching for me to really key in on the fact that I desired a relationship that was going to be effortless. And when I say effortless, I don't mean I didn't have to do any work, but it wasn't going to be a struggle relationship. It wasn't going to be a relationship where there was all this toxicity that I was going to have to be dealing with. No, it was going to be a relationship that was healthy, that was nourishing. And then when we did have work that we needed to do, it was the work that mature adults have to do, not all this baby work. Now, initially, I did tolerate some relationships that were not like that because, they were cute, they were there. I don't know, like they were just some relationships that was like, I didn't have the thinking that I have now. And I think when I teach on the podcast and I'm teaching my clients, it's easy to think that I never experienced what you did. I did. I just learned. And now I teach you what I've learned so that you can go faster. That's it. Like these are all steps that I think are normal in just the way the world is right now. But I held my high standards and my desire for that effortless relationship. Like once I did that, one, my queue got a lot smaller, right? And if your queue gets 100% empty, you might be being too picky and trying to protect yourself by building up walls. There's a nuance to this particular principle. But when I learned to hold high standards, I would go on a first date and I'd be like, oh yeah, nope, you've already showed me what I need to know, and this is a no. But I was doing it from a place of understanding. I wasn't doing it from like knee-jerk emotional responses. I was like, I knew what I was looking for. I knew how to identify it. I knew how to sort of like gracefully exit the interaction without feeling guilty, without feeling like I owed the person anything. There are a lot of roadblocks in our thinking that keep us in these relationships or keep us going on a second date and on a third date with someone that you should not go on a second or third date with. And it was something I had to learn along the way, holding that high standard, believing that that effortless, loving, nourishing, long-term, healthy relationship existed and knowing how to identify it so that I could move more and more towards it. Okay, so those are the first four things that I had to change in my dating journey. And if any of those resonate with you, if those are things that you're like, oh yeah, I need to change those, I need to heal those, I need to work on those, I want to invite you to book a consultation call with me. Like, let's talk. My consultation calls are free for now. And you can jump on my calendar and you can spend about 30 minutes or so talking about what's going on to identify your strengths, the strengths you already come with that are going to help you in your dating journey, and then the areas that you need to tweak so that you can put it over. And then this dating thing doesn't have to go on for years and years and years. And you can meet your partner in 6 months, right? And for those of you who have not started dating at all, jump on a consultation call with me, right? Like healing, you need to heal, but you're not going to heal forever. And there's some things that you're going to need to heal that you won't know you need to heal until you start dating. And I can help you with that. Like I can help you date in sort of this safe container where you have my eyes on your journey so that if something does start to go wrong, I can help you identify that. I can say, hey, here's what I'm noticing based on having worked with hundreds of women. I can tell that this might be happening. What do you think? Let's work on that. Here's an exercise that will help you with that. Or here's how what I'm hearing you in your thinking that isn't going to serve you or that might cause this problem down the line. Let's work on that thinking. Let's shift that. So I want to invite you, if you have been following this podcast for a while, your next step is to book that free consultation call with me so that you can move into action, so that you can move into making the relationship you want happen. The consultation call is a judgment-free zone. I have heard it all. Okay, at this point, I have pretty much heard it all. So you're not going to tell me anything that's going to be like, oh my God, what in the world, right? Like this said, we've all been there. This is one of the things I've tried to do in my audience is create a safe space for divorced women because we have some unique challenges, right? And if I haven't been through it, I promise you, I have a client who's been through it. Or I've done a consultation call with a woman who has been through it. So you are safe. This is a safe place. Let's talk about what's going on with you. And I'll walk you through my process. And so that you can see if this is the process that you want to use to move your dating journey forward. All right. Thank you for your time and attention today. If the sound on this was kind of weird, I apologize in advance or at the end because I don't have my regular equipment, but I really did want to get this podcast out to you. Okay, I will see you in another episode talking more about the things I needed to shift in order to date successfully and meet my husband. I hope you have an amazing rest of your January 2023, and I will see you next time.